You're not going to want to miss today's episode. We're going to be talking with Ari Staiman of Roblox about all things Metaverse. Stay tuned.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lawyers with Game. If you're interested in learning more about legal issues in the worlds of esports and video games, you're in the right place. My name is Darius Gambino, and I am first and foremost a lifelong gamer. I've played on just about every home console from the original Atari to the Sega Genesis to now the PlayStation 5. I'm also an intellectual property attorney with over 25 years of experience advising clients on issues related to patents, trademarks, and copyrights. I work for the law firm of Saul Ewing in Philadelphia, and you can find me on Twitter as @PhillyIP. If you want to find me for a game, I am Eagles Fan 71 on the PlayStation Network. With me today is my colleague Angie de Cespedes. Angie and I are both members of the esports and video gaming group at Saul Ewing. Angie, maybe you could say a few words about yourself and your practice.
Great. Thanks, Darius. Hi, everybody. My name is Angie de Cespedes, and I am also an attorney, and I've been practicing for a little over 20 years now at Saul Ewing's Miami, Florida office. I'm one of the leaders, as Darius mentioned, of Saul Ewing's national sports and entertainment, and also video gaming and esports practice groups, and also a member of our firm's litigation, technology, and crypto and blockchain task forces, and the vice chair of the American Bar Association Sports and Entertainment Industries Forum. My practice consists of representing clients in commercial litigation, business disputes related to corporate, IP, and real estate transactions and negotiations, and includes U.S. and international professional sports leagues, federations, teams, stadiums, arenas, video game companies, app developers, private equity firms, private membership clubs, and many others. Like Darius, my first gaming console was Atari back in the early 1980s when I was a kid. In fact, my 9-year-old son Liam and I recently completed building the newly released Lego Atari 2600 console, which is sitting behind me over here to the right, an identical replica of the original console and the joystick. It actually moves and feels like the original joystick and made completely out of Lego, which is unbelievable. It also included some of the most famous Atari games, like Centipede and Asteroids, and you could build Lego cartridges of those, and the adventure game, the Atari adventure game, which was, a little trivia here, the first game to ever feature an Easter egg. I'm not going to tell you the secret hidden within the console. You're going to have to find that out on your own.
Great stuff, Angie. Thank you. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. If you want to find out more information about our law firm, please visit us at www.saul.com. Please keep in mind as well that these videos are intended to be a high-level and general discussion of legal issues in the video game and esports spaces. They are not intended as actual legal advice. If you need actual legal advice, please reach out to myself or Angie, and we'll be happy to help you. Today, we are going to be talking with Ari Staiman of Roblox about the game and 200 million monthly users. Half of the American population under 16 is on Roblox. Over 500 million in revenue in 2021 for developers working on the system. I'd like to welcome Ari Staiman, president of Roblox China, to the show.
Hi everyone. By the way, so as you were talking, I was Googling Adventure Atari, and I now know the Easter egg. So thank you for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
Definitely. We'll get more into that a little bit later.
Perfect. Thanks, Darius. Hi, Ari. So like Darius mentioned before, and I think, maybe because a lot of the people on Roblox are so young, that a lot of adults, although the numbers of adults who are subscribing are growing exponentially on a daily basis, we're going to get into a little bit, what Roblox is, how it's become so popular. Before we do that, I wanted to ask you about your background and how you came to be president of Roblox China. People may not know this, but you were a lawyer, like Darius and I at one point. You were actually at a big firm. So I'm curious, and I'm sure our viewers are curious about your path to becoming president at Roblox China. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you got to this current position, the experiences you had, which made you, in my opinion, perfectly suited for the role?
Sure. I guess the message is stay in school. um, but in all seriousness, I started my career on Wall Street way back when. I went to Fordham University Law School, Berkeley undergrad, um, and because people ask me like, how do you succeed in law or how do you succeed in business? I actually think it's what I think Woody Allen said: show up. Like 80% of everything is just showing up. I think it's just caring and pushing hard and obviously being smart and that type of thing. Like I guess I'm talking to the sort of the young lawyers or whomever out there. It's life is not easy, right? But if you just push and push and push, and determined and also sorry, be nice to people along the way. Because I actually don't want to be nice to people along the way. I wish I could be the real me, but if you're the real you, people aren't going to want to work with you sometimes. So you got to, be super intelligent, push hard, and be nice. Anyway, so I started on Wall Street. I then went to Japan. I was working for Baker McKenzie in Tokyo, and then I didn't like being an in-house lawyer because it's very stressful and very hard. People may not realize it who aren't in it. You have a lot of responsibility, right? And you want to make sure you do it right. And so the people like yourselves, and by the way, I should mention, I'm big fans of both of you and your firm. I mean, big
Thank you.
Yeah. No. To do it as long as you have been doing it, and to have the success that both of you have had, you have to be really good. Like people get weeded out, and so the people who are at your positions are actually really good. And by the way, Darius and Angie, I also started on Atari way back when and been playing. I'm more of an Xbox person than PlayStation, but either one will do. Anyway, so one day a headhunter called me and said, "Hey, do you want to work for Sega?" And I knew that I wasn't right for an in-house lawyer. Like it takes a really sort of detailed person, I think, to be in-house lawyer and somebody who can really think through other people's issues. And I'm not that type of person. I'm big picture. I'm not detailed. And so I jumped at the chance to work for Sega. It was way back when Sega was really cool and popular. They had all kinds of stuff going on. And this was in Japan. And I joined at the lowest level. And I know that because the person interviewing me said they had a U.S. lawyer working for them before and it didn't work out. So they wanted to bring somebody at the lowest level in the legal department. And I said, hey, it's Sega. I'll do it, and I guess that's the other thing. Like your pride will be battered and bruised. Any profession, just stick with it. It's okay. It's hard, just stick with it. So I joined as the lowest level and I worked my way up to a really weird position where I was a person from the U.S., New York, and I became general counsel of globally for Roblox, for Sega in Japan and their affiliates worldwide. It was very interesting. Like everyone was Japanese. I was not, obviously. And culturally, it's very, very different. So how the Japanese business people interact versus non-Japanese. And so I had to get used to that. Anyway, did it. Did it for eight years or so. And then here's the question of how I transitioned to business. And that is, like, lawyers are really, actually, in my opinion, better business people a lot of the time than non. And we have to do it. Like lawyers have to say, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear your goals, but have you thought about A, B, and C? And lawyers are in so many the good lawyers, right? Like you both who've been around and thought through these. You've seen the same type of deals again and again, so you can think of all the things that somebody who's focused on a particular KPI or something may not think about. So as I sort of added that value, the business people wanted to get me more and more involved, and then one day I became president of a Sega subsidiary that turned into a franchisee. And that was really cool. People ask me, well, wow, how'd you get to be general counsel of Roblox? Well, it was luck. I was in Silicon Valley. I met with Dave Bazuki, who's the CEO, and others. I'm like, wow, those people are intelligent. I was like, and as lawyers, like we're intelligent human beings. And it's nice to work with business people who are who are also intelligent, right? So, and then as people are assessing going from legal to I guess law firm to in-house, my suggestion is the question is, are the people intelligent? Would you want to work with them? But also, is there a visionary in the company, somebody who believes in something? I don't want to name names, but a lot of big tech companies were started that way, and now they've just become business units, and you wonder like how they're going to continue. Roblox, luckily, continues to have a very, very single vision, and I'm really happy to be involved with that. Sorry, I'll stop talking and turn it back to you all.
No, that's great. That's fantastic advice for people just getting started in their careers or thinking about transitioning from in-house to outside counsel. So I think that's great. I wanted to transition and ask you a little bit about Roblox, the game. I'm not going to say I'm an expert in it. I play a lot of video games, but not as much Roblox. But I do know there's a lot of unique things going on inside there now. One of them being the fact that people can develop their own kind of mini games within the game that are called experiences. Could you talk a little bit about that and how that process has been received by the community and kind of how that's going for the company?
Yeah, sure. And really quick aside, which will answer your question, but I want to give some context. So I used to work for Sega. Really great experience. And then I was in Silicon Valley. I joined a small company that became big. They had an IPO. And I could figure out what do I want to do next. And I was in Silicon Valley. And I got a call from somebody who worked at Roblox. And they said, hey, you want to work at Roblox? And I said, well, what's Roblox? This was about 7 years ago. And they said, they said the word video game. And I'm like, no. I've had enough. No more video games for me. I like playing them, but the industry wasn't that interesting to me anymore because it was kind of like movies are today, where you have to have a hit and then you have to have a sequel and a sequel and a sequel. It wasn't very interesting from a legal point of view. And he said to me, no. Roblox is not a video game. It's a platform. I said, ooh, what's a platform? And then he said, well, think of YouTube. Think of where you have a cat video, you put it on YouTube, and people around the world can play that, can watch that cat video. And I said, yeah, I'm very familiar with YouTube. And he said, no, that's Roblox. He worked at Roblox, makes a platform where people around the world, and they provide tools for people to make content and put that content on Roblox, and people around the world interact with that content. And so I'm using the word content, but originally Roblox is all about games, right? Originally. And so, for example, and it's 3D immersive worlds. And when I say game, it's not like, Tetris. It's kind of like, let me jump into this world and survive a natural disaster. And so, and it's not just you, it's you and all these other people. So there's a giant social component, and I can't understate it, and sense of community. So you go on this thing, you make friends, and you're all trying to survive a tornado together, and you're doing this and like, a fire, and you're jumping on that, and like, and I said, well, that's all interesting, a platform, but how do they make money? Like, and they said, no, that's the beauty of it. The starting point is it's all free to play. And anybody can join and do it, but the people who are making the content, not Roblox, are the ones who actually are making the money off of this, and they're highly incentivized to put stuff on Roblox. And I said it's free to play, but there's something called Robux, which is a virtual currency, and you can, if you want to, for example, in a natural disaster, you can buy an upgrade. And you could fly or something like that to get away from the fire. That type of thing. Not particular game, but that concept. And so the developers of those games, or we call them experiences, because they're not really a game. They're sort of, you get in there and you immerse yourself. Are making money off of that, and obviously the company takes a cut as well. So you could think of it like a two-sided marketplace, where you have developers on the one hand or creators on the one hand, and you have players on the other hand, and you have Roblox in the middle. It was a very, very interesting business model. It was a very interesting technology concept. And then again, I hate to keep mentioning the CEO, but him and his partner, Eric Castle, created this way back when. And they, I never met Eric, but Dave was super intelligent. And then the other people I met were just so intelligent. I was like, wow, it'd be really cool to be involved with this. Sorry, I forgot what the original question was.
No, you answered it and more, I think. So,
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. And I mean, and again, just to give the audience some context, there are 52.2 million daily active users on Roblox. There are over 40 million games that have been created on Roblox. And in 2021, alone, the developers of those games, the creators of those games, earned over $500 million in revenue from creating and developing those games. And they can also sell various items as well, virtual items. And it's all just extremely interesting and, quite frankly, innovative, which brings me to my next question, which is earlier this month, Roblox ranked number 3, which is incredible for the company on Fast Company's fourth annual list of the 100 best workplaces for innovators. That is a huge honor. The fact that they ranked number 3 in the world. Ari, what do you attribute that to?
Caring about employees. And I'm being very honest. In my experience, HR departments aren't always in it for the employees. In fact, that's almost a joke. HR departments are not in it for the employees. HR departments, as many lawyers should understand, are there to protect the company.
It's like an episode of The Office.
That's right. Barb, who sort of everything HR and other things roll up into her, and Dave and others, their goal one of their goals is to create an environment where people sort of enjoy what they're doing. Because again, life's hard, work isn't easy, but to provide a space where people sort of enjoy coming in and doing things. That's point one. Point two is, I mentioned sort of the intelligence of the people I met when I first joined. The people we hire are really, really, really talented at what they do. We're lucky because that's the thought about at Roblox is when you're hiring people, don't hire good enough, hold out and look for the great people who potentially could be great. And as a hiring manager, you don't always have the time to do that. You're like, that person's good enough, just hire them. Well, you can't get those people through. They won't be hired because we only want to have people who either are great or potentially could be great. And so when you work, and who are nice human beings. Like I haven't met, I don't know if I want to use bad language here, but not nice people. Let me put it that way. I haven't met a lot of not nice people at Roblox. Hey, to be very honest, there's people who I can't stand, but it's not because they're not nice. It's because they're determined to do the work in their way. I want to do it in my way, that kind of stuff. But no one's sort of purposely, and so it's a really good environment. The people thinking through the environment create a really good environment. They hire really, really talented engineers, product people, marketing and user acquisition, all kinds of just really talented people. Lawyers. We have really, really good lawyers. And then again, the idea about a lawyer, and it's been said, but so many legal departments are like, well, I'm sorry, you can't do that. And by the way, that for those who don't know, Angie and I have worked extensively other places, and Darius and Angie are both not that type of lawyer. Basically.
Thank you.
No. The concept is that you all bring is, how do we get your objectives achieved? As opposed to, sorry, the thing that you asked me we can't do because the law says what. I don't have any time for that. And no one does in business. The answer is, okay, the obvious answer is, hey, maybe we can't do it that way, but here's how we can achieve your objectives, in the legally safest way. The lawyers at Roblox are really good at doing that.
Yeah. I mean, we think that our law firm, we think that Saul Ewing has that similar kind of environment where we treat our people well.
Absolutely.
Our people are our capital. And so like we completely understand that, and you have to be business focused when you're giving legal advice. And I think that's something that Angie and I definitely are cognizant of when we're advising clients. So
Yeah, and by the way, this isn't a paid promotion, but I've used various lawyers and law firms around the world, and I'm telling you, your law firm really helps me get things done. So I really, really do appreciate it. I mean, really. And there's so many bad lawyers out there. Like, it's very hard. It's very hard.
Giving the rest of us a bad name. Yeah.
It's very hard to find lawyers who are just responsive, right, and who are pushing towards your needs. Like any other industry, it's very hard. So thank you for all your help.
absolutely, thank you for
Thank
that awesome praise. Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the game and in relationship to the metaverse. I think we're all hearing a lot about the metaverse these days. We're hearing about Decentraland and the Sandbox and Roblox and lots of other virtual environments. And I think a lot of companies are striving to make these virtual environments more and more real. And maybe we'll all be existing in these environments like Ready Player One someday. But I wanted to ask you about some of the improvements that Roblox is making or has made in terms of layered clothing and materials, some of the materials you use within the world, all these upgrades to make things seem more real. Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. And let me start with the metaverse. People always ask me, especially normal people, when I'm just walking around, hey, Ari, I heard you work at Roblox. What's the metaverse? And I said, it's a buzzword that people throw around because they want to look cool. And that's a lot of people do that. And people have no idea what it means. It's just like anything else. Every couple of years is a buzzword. But to us, to Roblox and to a lot of people who are thinking about it, it's not a buzzword. It's an actual concept that we believe technology is moving towards. And let me bottom line it. It's just imagine right now, you don't have to imagine this. We weren't on video. We were all together kind of hanging out, right? So way back when, we all used to be hanging out together, right? Then technologies happen so we can all sort of at the same moment, like Facebook is a good example of you post something, somebody else comes back and you do that. That's not at the same time, right? And there's some benefit to do that, but how we like to view and what we're moving towards, Roblox is moving towards, is human co-experience. And the idea is not that you have asynchronous, somebody does something and then somebody else does it. It's like you're together in this virtual space, 3D immersive space, doing things together. So the metaverse, from our point of view, is you have your identity and you're with other people who have their identities and you're all doing things together in the virtual space. And you mentioned Ready Player One, great book, movie, etc. It's all about sort of the hardware. The hardware doesn't have to be involved in the metaverse. That's one way to experience the metaverse. But the concept is whether you have hardware or I guess there right now has to be some type of hardware. Maybe it's a keyboard, a monitor. Eventually, what does the word hardware mean? Will come up. But it's some way that you don't need to put on the goggles or anything like that, is what I'm trying to say for metaverse. So imagine if us all got on this space and we started playing a game together. And the game there's a game on Roblox which I like. It's called Fashion Frenzy. And Fashion Frenzy is you all put on different clothing and you dress up. And you have a time limit to dress up, and then there's a fashion contest, and everybody playing votes on you. So who can come up with the best outfit, right? My daughter introduced me to it, and we play on it all the time. Like she loves it, and I love it, and it's fun, right? And you're frantically trying to dress up and that type of thing. But we're all doing it together. so my daughter and me are in the same household on two different computers, but you have people around the world doing it at the same time, and we're all experiencing it together. That's a metaverse. And so you could all, in simplistic terms, you could all watch a movie together. You could all attend a concert together. And Roblox, I mentioned, started out with games, and it sort of went to sort of more experiences. And now you could all learn together. The classroom thing is a very good example. And concerts, which we've had, that's what we're moving towards. Again, I always forget the question. What was the question?
Yeah, no. I mean, you answered it, and I don't like the term metaverse either. I prefer Web3, and I think the way people need to think of, I think when you say the metaverse, people think of the virtual reality headset and things like that. And I think the way you need to think about it is what the internet was in the early 90s. You know, that it became a different way for people to interact with one another, and that's what this, I believe, at some point will eventually become what Web3 will become. But Angie, I know you've got some more questions to ask.
Yep. And I mean, and go ahead, Ari, go ahead.
I just want to add one thing, just to clarify. I'm not saying I don't like metaverse. I'm saying people don't understand it.
They don't understand.
Right? You know, and then people just use it different ways. So once you understand it, I think the metaverse is as good as any other term to describe it. But the thing, from a Roblox point of view, the concept is, I need to have my own identity, and how we do it is with an avatar. And so you have your avatar, and I think so. We have like 50 million people a day using Roblox. That's a crazy number, 50 million a day, like around the world using Roblox. And I think a quarter of them, or something along those lines, change their avatar outfit every day. A quarter of them, right? And so,
of course, you can't stay.
Of course, because you have to. It's like when, like, for today, I wore this logo here, and my wife told me, "Hey, Ari, that logo's not. Sorry, that logo's not as cool as it used to be in the U.S., but in Asia, it's still cool. So, and I'm in Asia right now. But that's a concept. I can decide what I want to wear on a physical day, when I'm on Roblox, I decide what I want to wear. And by the way, that's a big avatars and creating content for avatars. Sorry, you asked me a question about two new innovations that we have, right? About layered clothing and materials. So I don't think I answered that. So let me answer that right now. The concept for that is, originally we had, there's different types of avatars. There's bulky ones, there's this or that. And so technology has to catch up to what we want. And so before, you'd buy one item and you could, a shirt or pants, or when I say buy, again, most of the stuff is free to play, so you could actually get it for free, or you could purchase it with a virtual currency. And so now we've come up with new technology so that you can have layered clothing, just like I might put on a jacket or something. You can have multiple layers and they all fit together, and they shrink or get big depending on the body size of the avatar. And the materials that you mentioned, when it's raining. Way back when I was at Sega, somebody told me that her job was to do physics. And I said, well, what does that mean? And she said, well, like when you're playing volleyball and your hair is going back and forth. I said, no, I never thought about it, but I get it. And she's like, we have to, when we do volleyball in the video game, we have to make sure the hair goes back and forth correctly. I said, oh, wow, that's so interesting. That's the concept here. So Roblox has always been about trying to match reality in that way, and the technology is just improving and improving. So like when it's raining, you want the water to form a little puddle in the right way, the way it would normally do. So going back to the metaverse, the concept is I create something, who I am in the digital space. And the beauty, as we all know, is you can define who you are. I think it's Satra who said, lightning hit him, and he had to define who he was. You can define whoever you are. You can be any gender, any height, any whatever in the metaverse, and change, right? Experiment. And then once you have who you are, and again, you could change it, you could make friends, and you don't say, okay, I'm going to go. Normally you don't say, okay, I am going to go do this. You say, hey friends, let's all go together to this experience and this experience. And I don't know how many experiences we have right now, but it's something like 20 I'm going to say 29 million. 29 million. Can you imagine 29 million options? We have 29 million different things you could do on Roblox. And so you're going with your friends, hanging out, going here and here. It's super fun. It's a sense of community. Sorry, Angie, back to you.
No, it's listen, it is very, very cool. And those innovations, even though people may not grasp, what goes into them, that layered clothing, example of that innovation where you have this one size fits all, where brands can come in now, various brands and things of that nature. By the way, Ari, the logo you're wearing is still extremely cool in Miami, so do not worry. But I will tell you, you were a little off. I think you guys are almost at 40 million experiences / games on the Roblox platform. So I'm curious, because I know that I've played some games, some with my kids, some that I just like to play, on my own. And I think the listeners would be interested. And you just told us, one of your favorite games, but I want to talk a little bit so people kind of get an idea as to what we're talking about when we say experience. So can you just run us through some of the most popular, games on experiences on Roblox, and give us a little information about what they are, so people have an idea of what we're talking about, just maybe a handful of these 40 million experiences?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, again, we're not talking about Tetris. We're talking about Adopt Me, right? Where you adopt and care for virtual pets. Or we've all seen Squid Game, right? Or a lot of people have seen Squid Game. Imagine, do you remember when they were trying to cross the bridge? And can you step on here? Can you step on there? Not to say we have a Squid Game, but that's the idea, that you can do those type of challenges, trying to get across. Or, for example, Roblox High School. I think they're up to number 2 now. They have Roblox High School 2. Is a game when I first started, I loved, because I could go back to high school and live it the way I wanted to live. And then they, work at a pizza place. You could be the cook, or the delivery person, or a customer just hanging out. And then you have like Meep City, which is sort of a role-playing game. You customize your pet. They different, whatever you're particularly interested in, you could find on there. So don't think, or for example, most of the games historically were created just by normal people, not studios. And so all the experiences that I just mentioned were just created by, I want to say, an 18-year-old, but obviously it could be any age. And these young human beings, and now not so young human beings, are making millions of dollars. Like, this is not a small business. Like, if you go, first of all, here's the beauty for all parents out there. Kids and young adults and adults are learning to code on Roblox. I've learned to code on Roblox. So you take the tools that Roblox provides for free, and you start creating games and experiences, and you could publish it, and then you could make money off of it. It's a win-win. So people learn to code, then they publish it, and then these people are learning how to become business people. They're at first, people generally do it by themselves, and then they sort of form teams, and then somebody's the owner, or co-owners, and then you have really sort of big teams. That's historically how the content has been developed on Roblox. Today, you have, because of where we are and the popularity, you have big studios and others coming in. So, for example, Gucci is on, for just an example, is on Roblox, and you can imagine Gucci. Oh, I should mention, historically, Roblox has been aimed at younger, like 9 through 13. But today, half of our people are over 13 and half are under 13. So Roblox's concept is we're trying to create a platform for all ages. And so from a business point of view, we needed to think through how to create that platform. And now we're seeing it. Sorry, let me talk about the legal side of it for a second, because I know there's a lot of lawyers out there. Most technology platforms, and let me speak in English, most tools, apps that people use are 13 and above, or are aimed at 13 and above. And the reason for that, you could start with COPPA, which is the Child Online Privacy Act, I think it's called. But the concept is we want to protect under 13, human beings under 13, and that's just a U.S. law, right? But the U.S. is so dominant, the technology in the U.S. is so dominant. You sort of follow those patterns around the world, and a lot of governments around the world sort of follow the U.S. laws in some sense, and then we follow others in other senses. But anyway, so apps are aimed at 13 and above. We are not. We're an app for all ages, and therefore our legal team has to work double time to create environments that are conducive for under 13s, environments for over 13s. So when we talk about people developing content and putting it on Roblox and then making money off of it, anyone can develop and put on Roblox, but you can't make money off of it until you're over 13. And there's other requirements as well. And the reason for that, obviously, is two things. From a business point of view, we want to protect children. But from a legal point of view, you could imagine we don't want to get into any legal issues.
Absolutely. And by the way, for those listening, half of all U.S. children under the age of 16, have a Roblox account and play and learn to create. And my children have done it. It's an absolutely amazing environment, which I wish had existed when I was their age. And, the number one game, I think you mentioned it on Roblox, the number one experience, on Roblox right now is something called Adopt Me. And Ari mentioned you can go on and adopt and care for virtual pets. I love it because it gives me an excuse not to have to get my kids a dog. They can go on there, they can create whatever pet they want. But just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here, the immensity of what we're talking about here, which is just fabulous. That game alone has received 29.6 billion visitors. Okay.
That's crazy.
Which is unbelievable. So Darius, you want to take us to our next area of inquiry for Ari?
Yeah, no, I mean, you touched on it a little bit, Ari, but and you made the analogy to YouTube, but you have this developer exchange program where so a lot of video games have their own online currencies, right? Games like Madden and NBA 2K have their own in-game currency that you use. Fortnite has V-Bucks. And with Robux, and most of those systems go one way, right? You convert dollars into whatever the virtual currency is, and you use it or you lose it. You have a program now with Robux where you're allowing your developers who create these experiences, who create different clothing for characters and different purchasable items within the world, to convert those Robux back into dollars, so to actually make a living out of programming for Roblox. Talk a little bit about that and some of the success stories that you've seen there.
Yeah, so let me just sort of start about from legal, because our audience is legal, that the laws in jurisdictions around the world are all different. And this is super, super tricky from a legal point of view. And by the way, just a tip, when you're talking to business people, don't use the word jurisdiction. They don't use the word markets. So, but different jurisdictions around the world have different concepts about virtual currency. So, for example, in China, you're not allowed to buy currency and then resell that same currency. And if you do, it's characterized as a virtual currency, and then there's all kinds of different things that you need to comply with. So, sorry, and let me back up and explain why that's relevant. The way, as you just pointed out, Darius, if I want to, Roblox has a virtual currency called Robux. Sorry for the naming; it's very confusing with Roblox. So, but Robux, the virtual currency, you could get in several different ways. You could either purchase it, you can create something, like I can create a T-shirt for an avatar, or I can create an experience. And if somebody spends virtual currency on my T-shirt or on my piece of clothing, or in one of my experiences, I will get Robux. Or let's say I put an experience on there and nobody spends any currency on it, but people play it, I will get Robux just because people are playing that experience, right? And then we also have something called Roblox Premium, which is a subscription service which you get some Robux and you get other sort of benefits. So those are different ways you might get Robux. And one of those ways that you'll notice is to purchase Robux. Then what do I do with these Robux, right? And so I can either spend stuff on games, or I can cash them out for real life dollars or euros or whatever, or RMB, whatever. You can't do that in China. For example, one country you can't do that. So in China, if somebody purchases Robux, you'll never be able to cash them out. And when people are earning on from a game, if they put a game and they earn something, what they're actually earning is RMB, which is the local currency in China. You're not earning Robux, which you thereafter cash out. Just one example, you could imagine this in each state, and that's why we have to go to people like you, Darius, you, Angie, to help us think through virtual currency. And each state in the U.S. and then each country that we're working with, it's very, very difficult, and it took a long time, and it continues because laws are always iterating and changing. And then one other thing, along those lines, we have what you mentioned is Developer Exchange. So you can't just willy-nilly, you earn some Robux and cash it out. There's a legal procedure in place. I'm speaking as a lawyer now. A legal procedure in place. If I were talking to normal human beings, they would go, "Yeah, there's this easy thing. You do A, B, and C." From a legal point of view, the back end, there's a vetted legal process around that works for developers around the world of what the requirements you need to do to cash out. And the people who take part in this, there's all different types of people. Some people making hundreds of dollars, $1,000, and then people making millions and millions of dollars. So it's really cool.
It's pretty amazing. Okay.
And so Angie, one thing, and that came like innovation of necessity is the mother of invention. Like, this was, nobody thought this all out on day one, just to the business people out there. It's like Roblox is a technology company, and they're from way back when they said, okay, let's build this platform where people can create stuff and put it on. Like, that idea has been there from the beginning, but over time they realized, wait, how do we incentivize better and greater creations? And somebody said, you know what? Let's let the people putting content on there make money, right? And at the time, you can imagine that's pushing the law, like legalities of things, and they came up with that business idea. And then one other sort of interesting point, reason I paused is I don't know what at the time they weren't talking to your firm, and they didn't have an in-house lawyer. So when you're smaller, you take chances. And not to say Roblox ever did anything wrong, but I remember when I came in, I was the first lawyer. They were finally getting a little bit. I started reading some of the privacy policies and terms and conditions. I'm like, wait, first of all, for those who don't know, in-house lawyers don't know anything. We're basically the people who call up you both and say, oh my God, I got these terms and conditions. They don't look right to me. What should I do? No joke. For people who want to be in-house lawyers, you're basically a generalist. And what you do is you're the middle person between people like Angie and Darius who know. And by the way, Angie and Darius are also, in a sense, they will bring in the right lawyers who know about different concepts. And so my role is to understand what the business is trying to do, flag the legal issues like it was a law school exam, then call up Darius and Angie and say, hey, everyone, the EU is coming out with this new thing called GDPR. What do we do? And then they either know or they get their colleagues and they get the information back to me. And then I look like a hero because internally everybody thinks I know everything. So when I was general counsel, that's how I got through life. And now I'm on the business side. again, I'm president of Roblox China. I have lawyers who I turn to, and I always say to them, great job. But really, I know they're really great at getting outside help to get the answers we need. And when you're super small, you're willing to take risks, but the bigger you get, the less risks you can actually take.
Yeah. I mean, and it's curious to me. You guys actually just changed your logo a little bit again this week, and you've done it multiple times since the beginning of the company, which I believe was you guys were in beta, I think, in 2004, and it kind of launched in 06. And I love how you continue to change that logo. And when you look back at all the various logos and kind of the progression, it's funny because you hear, Meta and all these, different platforms talk about how they're going to take us into the metaverse. They're going to take us into this, this new platform, this new space. This is, my perception of Roblox is they've been doing this all along. This is nothing new. You guys are just making it better and better. The logo being, the proof in the pudding almost, because it continues to get more sophisticated, more refined, cool, with the letters, little cricket sometimes, meaning it's a thing that's constantly in motion, constantly growing. So I love that. So for the final question for you, Ari, is, we've talked about virtual human co-experience, the metaverse. What is the future, for Roblox? Where do we go from here? You guys have done such an unbelievable job at getting this platform to where it is. Can you talk to us a little bit about what the vision is going forward?
Yeah, I'd love to. And it was so interesting, Angie, that you picked up on the new logo, because the change is so nuanced. It's a lot of people wouldn't notice it. And the reason I'm starting with the logo and what you just said is to help lawyers out there understand, when you're dealing with a company, understand what's their goals. And so Roblox is a technology company. We are not, and we are driven by the technology and the platform and what we're trying to build. And we're driven by making an amazing user experience. Like, we're very driven by that. And when I say users, remember, there's two types. There's developers, and then there's the people who consume the content on the other side, as opposed to companies that are driven by marketing. Roblox's choice that they're making is, we'll build it and they'll come. Like, we'll build the best platform where people can as easily as possible deploy their content, whatever the content is, on Roblox, and others can join and have a sense of community and co-experience and doing things together. And that's the metaverse, and how we see the metaverse progressing is to make that easier and easier and easier, to the concept where you don't really, at some point, you're not really going to make that big a distinction between when you're offline, whether you're on a video conference, or whether you're in the digital space. It's all going to converge so that you've defined who you are in the metaverse, who you are in the digital space. And again, you can change that digital space. You can then we call human co-experience. You can together do things. You can watch a movie together. You can watch a concert together. You can go to class together. You could continuing education, get your legal credits, right? Or you could be a bird and feel what that's like. Or, as my favorite game, Fashion Frenzy, you all put on clothing and you have a contest about who has the best outfit on. I always lose, but it's certainly fun. But that's the concept, is to make that easier and easier and easier. And a lot of companies are trying to figure out, here's the other thing, just business thing, where what do we do in the short term to market or to raise profits? So Roblox is not about that. We're super lucky. It starts with, what are we trying to do? You mentioned long-term. We can't do anything from a business point of view within Roblox unless we define where we're trying to go and how we're going to get there. And even though we're a public company, we're not focused on this quarter, because this quarter, in a sense, not in a sense, doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. The goal is to create the metaverse, create a space where Angie, Darius, me, we can all come together. And let's say we all want to watch a legal movie, right? Or we all want to extend. I'm thinking of what lawyers might do together. I don't know what lawyers might do.
We can go to Mars. We can go to Mars.
We can learn about Mars. We could play golf together. I don't know, whatever lawyers do, we could all do together at the same time. And Roblox's goal is to make that easier and easier and easier for people to do that.
Yeah, really interesting conversation, Ari. I mean, I know we could probably go on for another hour or so talking about some of these topics, but that's all the time that we have for today. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Darius. I just have one question.
Sure.
What's behind you? I've been looking at those posters. Super cool.
I've got lots of things behind me. Toy Story 3 poster, Batman Begins. I've got Boba Fett, Geralt, The Witcher. I've got lots of things back there.
Cool. So Darius, let's co-experience together and play some video games. Angie, let's all do it.
Absolutely.
We are going to do that. To our viewers, if you have any questions about any of the legal issues we talked about today, and we talked about a lot, drop them into the comments, and Angie and I'll try to answer them without providing any real legal advice, of course. Until next time, I'm Darius, this is Angie, and we are Lawyers with Game. We'll see you next time.